welcome to the W Show. I'm Sarah Ollie and we are back to preview a massive round two. A big hello to Sarah Black. Hi, Sarah.
Sir, how good were those Saners on the weekend?
Amazing.
Big weekend for the club too.
Absolutely. And Riley Beveridge is also back with plenty of news. Hi, Riles.
G'day, Sarah. G'day, everyone. Yeah, looking forward to week two. Week one threw up a few upsets, a few surprises.
Yeah.
So looking forward to seeing what round two unfolds.
And our special guest, fresh off a big win against the Dogs. She is coming up against the Saints, who are in form, as Sarah alluded to. It's Melbourne midfielder Eliza McNamara. Hello,
Thank you
Liz.
for having me. Saints were very
on.
good, but hopefully we can be better this weekend. That's the plan.
It is the big match, and we will get to you and your Ds in a little bit. But off the top, Riles, let's get to some news out of the weekend. There was a lot of footy played, but you're talking about footy played not for premiership points.
Yeah, there were some big games in the AFLW over the weekend, but literally the biggest happened at Skinner Reserve in Melbourne's West, where players who didn't make AFLW selection took part in what was essentially a league-wide scrimmage match. So there were 74 players that played. 15 of the 18 clubs were represented. Geelong, St Kilda and West Coast, the only clubs that weren't there. There were fitness staff, coaches, assistant coaches, high-performance staff. Everyone was there. And what it has done, I think, essentially is it's put the state league programs and the reserves programs back on the radar for clubs, because what it was it was 6 15-minute periods that everyone played in. There were players rotating in and out of the games, players who had to go back to non-Victorian clubs played the earlier periods, then had to leave, some had to go and be emergencies in games later on. And I think clubs now want a reserves competition around the around the AFLW to fit with the alignment of the timing of AFLW now, because I think what it does do is you ask the question, is a player who gets dropped to find some consistency and find some form, are they going to find it in that environment? So the AFL's view is that the state league programs are part of their ongoing growth strategy, and there's a number of factors that need to be taken into consideration before they change the timings of the VFLW seasons and the SANFLW seasons. It's a complex situation at the moment, but I think it has raised eyebrows and raised the attention of clubs now around the competition.
It's an interesting one, Riles, because it's a step forward from what we have previously had. So the last couple of years we've had a few different hubs around the country where these scrimmages have taken place. So there's been one in Melbourne, one in Queensland, one in WA, and they've consisted of a lot of train-on players to help boost those numbers. And then that means those train-on players aren't available during the week. But now they are, because they're not involved in scrimmages. So there's a whole lot of factors at play. There's some clubs, the more older, experienced clubs, who are going, this is great. Like, there's room for improvement. This is great. But there are others who are going, well, you know, if 6 rucks show up, you know, how are we going to get everyone equal game time? We have to send resources. We can't put 5 18-year-olds on a plane and send them across the country. We need to send staff with them. So there's a number of factors at play. Any feedback from the girls that were there on behalf of the Ds, Liz?
I think it is wholly a positive experience for them, because they do get a game hit out, which is what you need to kind of assert your spot in the team, and it's a step up from training just because you've got the unpredictability of the game. But yeah, it's obviously a tricky one, managing 74 players, trying to work out the rotations from that. It's not easy, but it's not easy for probably the staff and resourcing more than anything. But I think, yeah, the alignment of a reserves league or whatever, that's conducive to good football. It'll just allow for better progression when you're not playing and not getting a game in the top squad. So I think that's obviously where the game will head eventually. But in the meantime, I think the scrimmage, it's probably causing more good than harm, if we're honest.
Now, when it comes to the Brisbane Lions, I mean, I've got no concerns with Craig Starcevic's side. We know that they are slow starters. It's the 3rd season in a row that they have lost their opening round game, Riles. They travel to take on the Dockers, who are coming off a big, impressive win. Are you worried that they could go 0-2?
A little bit. They've never gone 0-2 in the history of the football club in AFLW. As you mentioned, they've lost their first game the last 3 weeks in a row. But I think this is now a massive test for them, and it's probably one of the biggest games of the weekend, I think. Going across the country to play a Fremantle side who were right up for it on the weekend, and Stannett back from that ACL injury, kicked a couple of goals, looked really good as well. I think this is now one of the most precious situations for a club to face, because you don't want to start 0-2 when there's only 12 games in the season. It's a long way back from that. And I think it's the worst possible fixture for them now to come back from, going across the country to face a Fremantle side that's in good form.
Having said that, who'd you tip?
I still think Brisbane will win,
Yeah,
but I just
of
think it's a mixing game.
And just quickly, cross-coders, we've mentioned them before.
Yeah.
Could we see another one?
Yeah, well, Liv Lewis, we spoke about her earlier this year, leaving the Melbourne Mavericks to come back to AFLW. Maisie Nankerville is another name that you might have heard. She played 2 games for the Crows in 2019. She then switched back to netball. She'd always been a netballer. She spent 5 seasons with the Adelaide Thunderbirds. She spent the last 2 seasons with the Melbourne Mavericks. She's now left the Melbourne Mavericks as well and is targeting a return to AFLW. So she's met with a host of Victorian clubs in the last week or so. There's some pretty significant interest out there because it is a free hit for clubs to get these cross-coders onto their list as rookies at the end of the year. 176 centimetres. She's known as an endurance athlete. So just a name to watch over the next couple of months.
Let's get to the football this weekend, and Melbourne are hosting St Kilda at Casey Fields. Eliza, we're building this up as probably game of the round because your team is in red hot form, and St Kilda, they were one of the shock winners at the weekend against Adelaide, who have always been up there. We're looking forward to this midfield battle, which you are very much going to be a part of. What did you take away from the Saints' win in that engine room over the Crows?
Yeah, I think the Saints, they had a really impressive performance against the Crows on the weekend. I think, yeah, absolutely their midfield's great, but both ends of the field, they're really sound. Got a great backline who defended plenty of inside 50s. But yeah, that midfield, super strong. Like Smith, so clean. Trikios, like great outside player as well. And then you've got Lambert who just gets in and gets the hard ball as well.
And we can see the battle of the mids there. I've got to say, I don't mind who is on your side of the equation as well. Tyler Hanks, Liv Purcell, Kate Hall, who we know is going to spend more time in the guts. She was sensational up forward too. But you've got a lovely mix. What's it like to play in there and be a part of it? Because you also had 22 touches at the weekend.
Yeah, it's a lovely mix in terms of talent, but also personnel. It's a great group to be a part of when we split off into rotations at training. It's always fun in the mids. But yeah, I think the 3 that were just up there, Hanksy, Purse and Kate, like they're such bulls and are so clean as well with the ball. But then coming off that, like we might have, you know, plenty of other people coming through the mid as well, like Shelley Heath, who's coming from the back line into the mid. She brings like heaps of speed. She's tenacious, so it's great. And then obviously complemented by Paxi on the wing, myself on the wing, B on the wing. It's, yeah, it should be an exciting battle. But if all goes to plan, hopefully it's a D's win. But yeah.
We spoke to Darren Crocker, North Melbourne coach, last week about the progression of the assistant coaches in the AFLW landscape. You've got a very highly rated one of the football club in Shay Sloan, who's seen as a potential future AFLW coach. Tell us about Shay and what she's been able to bring to the football club in recent years.
Yeah, so Sloaney, she's awesome. She is actually 2 from 2 from coaching us in wins. She took us for the Hawthorn game when we played out at Frankston a couple of seasons ago and we won. That was just her hometown, so Mick handed over the reins and she coached us to a win there. And then same again in our practice match against Adelaide this pre-season, Mick gave her the opportunity to take the head role and she like delivered seamlessly. She's kind of steps into the role, doesn't change how she goes about it. She's just a really great connector with the group. So many of the girls have played with her. I haven't played with her, but we were players at the same time. She was coming back from her ACL, and she's just so personable, so devoted. She's got the same thing that Mick has in terms of just having like what seems like abundant time for everyone in the team. She's always got plenty of moments in the day to do vision, just to chat, to joke around. Like she's a weapon. So it should be exciting for the W program having coaches like her coming through.
And Eliza, it's so good to see you on the couch and back on the park.
Yes.
Yes, it's a good couch. And back on the park.
Yeah.
You've had like a good season, maybe 2 seasons under your belt now since a fairly traumatic neck injury suffered in the gym.
Yeah.
Do you have any long-term effects from that one? Because it was an absolute doozy of an injury.
It was a doozy. Probably, yeah, like obviously battle pain management, but I think the medical staff are so on top of it and really proactive and kind of identifying when things are going awry and where it might be starting from. But also it's just me coming forward and saying like, yeah, I'm feeling tight here, here and here. What do you think we do? And whether that just be extra manual therapy or whatever it is, seems to get on top of it. So I've kind of found a good balance of what to do.
Are you still sore though? Do you feel it when you go out, especially when you're playing?
I feel it like when it's cold, I feel it just because there's some artificial stuff in my back and it doesn't really love the cold. I feel it when I'm like lying down or sitting for too long, things like that, standing. But no, when I'm on the footy field, I try and just like, footy. It wasn't a footy injury, so there's like kind of reassurance in that. It was a gym injury. I would never do that gym exercise again, I don't think. So we'll just leave that in the past. But otherwise, it's really quite good. And I guess my back is super stable because I've got 2 rods, a couple of pins in there, keeping it upright. So it's all
You are
good.
much braver than the three of us, I can tell you that much. Of course, you are hosting St Kilda at
Yep.
Casey Fields, the first home game for your side this year, and there are 10,000 reasons to get on down. Tell us
Absolutely.
more.
Well, yeah, it's the big 10K giveaway. So how it will work is the first 5,000 people there before halftime will be given a raffle ticket. And there have been some lovely people numbering 5,000 golf balls with the numbers 1 to 5,000. So your raffle ticket number will correspond with one of the golf balls. And then at the end of the game, once everyone's cleared off the field, the helicopter will come above the ground. There'll be a pin dropped and the 5,000 balls will drop as well. And the one that lands closest to the pin will be the winner, and you have 3 minutes to identify yourself. So if you've left at half time, it's not yours.
You've got to stick around.
Yeah, if you're not athletically inclined, I'd suggest sitting really close to the boundary so that you can wave your hand and say, that's mine.
And so 6,500 is the record crowd at Casey. We're trying to smash that. So get on down. I could use 10 grand, Riles. You could use 10 grand. Yeah, it would be nice. Hey, what else was nice across the weekend was all these dazzling debuts. And Ash Sentra certainly had her moment for Collingwood against Carlton with this big mark, and she went on to convert, which is important because the mark has to get replayed. So it's nice that she got the goal as well. She had her moment, but it was pre-match that everyone is trying to emulate that bounce, and we saw it across the weekend. Here she is, just hello, the basketball skills are coming out. The men were trying to do it, coaches were trying to do it. It was really setting the tone. I mean, some can, some can't. Liza, did you give it a go?
I didn't. I'll just leave that to Ash. She did it so nonchalantly. She wouldn't have even known she was being filmed, which is the cool part. So, yeah, it's a very impressive skill.
We can see the Hawks coach there, Sam Mitchell, trying to give it a go. And unfortunately, three of us, we also tried to give it a go.
I'm worried about
I'm not sure it was all that successful. Here we go yesterday in the office. Oh, I mean, it's not that pretty, the viewing, is it? Oh, I don't even know where my hand is in that.
Although, to be fair, watching Nick Dacos struggle.
Yes.
Oh, yeah,
She got it? Oh, yeah, that's all right. And oh, I'm impressed by that.
We didn't see all the failed attempts, so we're hidden in a back corridor, by the way.
So don't miss out on the next Centra trick. Get down to watch Ash live this Saturday at Vic Park against the Giants. You've been scoping out Vic Park. How's it looking? Is it up to scratch?
Yeah, I was doing my best Ross Lyon phone impersonation, taking a photo of the turf down at Vic Park. This was photos from yesterday. Having played there about a month ago, it's come on in leaps and bounds. It's much firmer underfoot than it was when I was last up there. These are... Look, that's the interchange bench, so there's always going to be some wear and tear there. We expect this ground to be A-OK. That was probably the biggest concern, was that hole there with some sand on it. It is a community ground. It does get used as a dog park too. There were plenty of dogs running around when I was there. So, it's always going to be a bit of a work in progress, but I think we're going to be A-OK on the weekend.
Something that isn't a work in progress is Gemma Bastiani's Deep Dive. Let's get to Gemma now.
We learned a lot from the first week of the AFLW season, and it tells us a lot about what to expect this week coming. The first one being the Swans game style. It stood up on North Sydney Oval this week. They got a 20-point win, but the ground size didn't really give them a chance to showcase the running, aggressive outside style of play that they want to execute. This weekend on People First Stadium, one of the bigger grounds in the AFL men's, let alone the AFL women's, it gives us a chance to actually look at their movement in space using the likes of a Zippy Fish, a Jazz Gris, and those elite kicks out of defence, and then the running game they've got going through their midfield. So I'm really excited to see just how dominant the Swans can be in terms of game style and brand on a bigger deck against Gold Coast this weekend. The other team in New South Wales, however, lost Elise Parker for the season, unfortunately with a fractured foot, which really hurts their midfield setup. Beck Beeson, Michaela Pauga and Caitlin Surhoy were the players that were already prepared to run through that midfield with her. Now, with her out, Zali Goldsworthy, they'd initially planned for her to spend a lot more time forward this year, create a more dangerous forward line. Unfortunately, she probably has to go through the midfield a bit more. Taylor Levy probably comes into the side, was an emergency last week, came up from Adelaide, is a reasonable midfielder that they can add. And Ailish O'Dowd is the interesting one for me. They've signalled that they're interested to use her less as a ruck and more as a midfielder now with Grace Koch into that ruck position. So that's one to watch as she works back into the AFLW this year. And now lastly, I want to make the case for a new stat to be recorded in the AFLW. I think instead of inside 50s, or as well as inside 50s, we should be recording inside 30s. On the weekend, Adelaide had 50 inside 50s, but a lot of their inside 50s were shots at goal from a distance that weren't making the goal line, essentially. And I just don't think that inside 50s give us a genuine look at what a team is attacking or defending like. Put an extra arc on the ground, record those inside 30s, and it will give us a better understanding of how teams are attacking and defending the ground and what sort of genuine opportunities they're creating for themselves. So I'm putting it out there, team. I think we should be recording inside 30s. What do we all think?
What do we all think? I might defer not to Riley or Sarah, but the player we've got, Eliza McNamara. What do you think? Are the inside 50s a bit redundant for AFLW?
I think absolutely they are. You definitely want to have the intention to get the ball as deep as you can to your forward. So I think when you're playing, you're thinking, I need to get this way beyond the 50. So inside 30 just makes way more sense. And I think, yeah, even for defence, like you set up on that 50-metre arc anyway, so it's probably a better stat if you're turning it over inside 30.
And this discussion's coming off the back of that Adelaide game. I was really surprised to see how the Crows played. They looked a little bit lethargic to me, Riles. I mean, St Kilda were excellent, so they deserve their flowers. And Chelsea Randall, who's been a stalwart for the club, wasn't there. What's the situation?
So Chelsea Randall was at her brother's wedding overseas. This was known to Adelaide for longer than 12 months that this date was booked in. The season then moved forward a couple of weeks to go to 12 rounds. That's why both Chelsea Randall and one of their senior assistant coaches in Mariana Racic were overseas and missed this game. I think though, I don't have an issue with this. I want to make that abundantly clear. But I think though, if you're looking at it holistically and if you're asking Doc Clark the question, did this help you on the weekend in what was probably the most notable result over the weekend? I think clearly the answer is no. And I think it just compounds the fact that they were outworked, they were out-hunted, they were outsmarted. I thought they were out-coached on the weekend. And you just hope that it's the start of a long season. They've known now for the best part of 8 months that Matthew Clark's not going to coach out this season. You sort of just hope that there's not a bit of complacency growing into this Adelaide group. And I wonder if that's a concern of theirs going forward now. Massive game for them in the weekend against a Geelong side that's missing a lot of players, but you just hope now that that complacency isn't starting to settle in. They're starting to look ahead to what the future looks like beyond Matthew Clark. And there's been a lot of other notable changes within their football department as well.
We have seen it before with the men's program, not at Adelaide, but at Melbourne. Ed Langdon, he went to his sister's wedding in London mid-season. I think it was last year. So there is some kind of precedent. I mean, it does happen. Life does get in the way, doesn't it?
And Adelaide gave both of them permission to miss this game because, as I said, they knew for longer than 12 months that this was the date that was locked in for that wedding. I do think, though, it's not helpful to their on-field hopes of winning that game. I'm sure if Doc Clark would have liked Chelsea Randall out there, he would have liked Mariana Racic alongside him in the coach's box. So I don't think it's helpful to the situation, even though I don't have a problem with it. I just think it's another issue for them that was compounded on the weekend to go with everything else.
So the Crows get an opportunity to bounce back this weekend against Geelong, Sarah, who've got some issues all of a sudden up forward.
They do. I just quickly on Randall, I back her in to kick two or
She
more
will,
goals this weekend. Yeah, she'll come out with the points to prove. The Cats, however, their opponents have some serious injury issues, particularly up forward. So in that loss to North Melbourne, Kate Darby and Jackie Parry both picked up injury concerns. They're both still TBC. I've been hammering the Cats and they're both still TBC. So we will get an update hopefully by Thursday evening on a timeline for those girls. But they're also already without Shelley Scott and Chloe Shears. So that leaves Ash Maloney as their one recognised key forward. And for a team that's struggling, that's trying to get back up into the finals mix, this is less than ideal. So in terms of future options for the Cats, they have got Erica Fowler in their back pocket. She, former Pie, was an injury replacement signing a few months ago, and that's proving to be quite a useful pickup. Gabby Featherston's only 169 centimetres, but can jump pretty high. Or their second gamer, Chantel Mason. So yeah, it's the cupboard's pretty bare at the Cattery.
It is indeed. Let's have a look at how the round 2 fixture is shaping up though, because there are plenty of matches that you simply must get on down to. As you can see, they stretch across Saturday and Sunday. And one of those matches that I'm really pumped to watch is Gold Coast and Sydney, because it's going to pit Zippy Fish, the number 5 pick, up against her great mate and the number 2 pick in Havana Harris. Now, we know that they have that link together from the academy. They're good friends, but I feel like, Sarah, when it comes to this game on the field, it'll be on for young and old.
Definitely. They'll be at the same end of the oval too, Zippy off halfback and Havana as a stay-at-home forward. These two are such fun together, and we've interviewed them both separately, and Havana was sort of saying, oh yeah, we'll still be buddies out on the field, that'll be absolutely fine, whereas Zippy was going, nah, we're not going to be friends, head down, game face is on. But Eliza, how good were the debutants on the weekend? Not just these two, but across the comp.
Yeah, it was exciting to see, and I think it just shows that the talent pathways are doing exactly what they should be and producing really whole footballers stepping into programs. And I think just from the ones that we have that have come in, they've been professional from the outset, and I think that mindset will kind of put you in good stead for the pre-season.
Now, guys, I don't want to say I told you so, but I told you so with Ella Roberts. She was sensational for West Coast on Friday night in their win over the Suns. Now, her side, the Eagles, they travel over here to take on Essendon at Windy Park this weekend. I mean, she is going to be difficult to stop, Sarah. We saw the 2 goals, 24 touches in the end. I think it was 6 score involvements. Yes, I've memorised what Ella Roberts actually did, but she is simply a player to contend with.
She certainly is. If Essendon are any chance of winning this game, they're going to have to lock down hard on Ella Roberts. I'd look to maybe skipper Steph Kane as someone who can provide a bit of a run with role. She's definitely got the endurance, Steph, to keep up with Ella, and is quite strong overhead as well. So, she can do it all over the park. One thing, her intercept marking was a real highlight on the weekend, so that'll be something the Bombers will have to don't kick where Ella is, I think, really. Let's keep it simple.
And we did hear from her coach pre-match, Daisy Pearce, who you know very well, Eliza. Let's hear from Daisy, and I want to get your thoughts after this.
If you love footy, you'll love coming to the AFLW this year because it's great footy. And if you're a pure footy lover, come and watch Ella Roberts play. Come and watch Jess Wrench play on Thursday night because they play the game in such great spirit and tenacity.
High praise. Does it get any higher than that from Daisy, Eliza?
No, probably not. She knows her footy and she knows people, so I think putting together that, Ella's been such a consistent performer and she's tenacious, that's definitely something that should draw fans in.
Well, thank you so much for joining us. Make sure you go and get your tickets for this weekend's action. Remember, how much money can you win at Casey Fields?
$10,000.
$10,000, everyone. Eliza, thanks for joining us. Sarah and Riley, thanks so much. And we'll see you next week on The W Show.